On this episode of One Man, One Hand, and No Real Plan, we're here to pump these hinges up.
Now, some of you might think this is funny for sissies, so, go ahead and laugh now, but let me tell you something, my friend. You'll be the one that's laughing later.
That's right. Enough talk. We're here not here to cut you down, we're here to pump you up.
So this existing design still works, but the problem is it's just not carrying the weight of the door as well as I would like it. So I ordered some heavier duty.
It's not that kind of duty.
These are weld-on hinges for gates, and they're rated to be a lot stronger. So what I'm gonna do with just the bracket part is come in here and put it in place of where the old hinge bolted up. I'll take this part and we'll come in here and figure out where it needs to be and use that to be our hinge point. The plan is to cut this original A-pillar out, get the new hinges installed, and then I'm going to recreate this out of 18 gauge and tie it off to the roll cage. Before I cut this out, I'm going to weld just the metal because I want to keep this upper bar because it's what supports the windshield and all that. So I'm going to cut this out here. So I'm going to weld a little piece of metal right in there. I may make this prettier in the future, but I'm just going to, right now I just got a little angle iron and I'm just going to stick it like right there. God, that's hot. Woo.
It's because you're a dumbass.
Still pretty. Still need a full face shield.
Because you're a dumbass.
So I'm trying to mock up my lower hinge point on the driver's side lower. I'm using this where the hinge location was as the starting point, and I'm going to tack it, and then I'm going to use the level to get it straight up, the holes perfectly straight up and down as well as side to side. So I need it back and forth, straight up and down, and I need side and side to be straight up and down because these have to be parallel. So I've got a piece of all thread set to mimic the gap I need here between the two hinges, but it'll also give me a straight line between the hinge points to help keep everything parallel. In case it didn't fully make sense, so what I'm doing is I use this nut to push this up, and then There's my top hinge, this is my lower hinge, and I need all 4 of these to be in a straight line to bolt up in order for the door to swing open. Now that I've reinforced those tacks, I'm going to come in here with our hinges and mark where they need to be bent. I'm going to cut this with the cutoff wheel, and then I'm going to bend it and weld it back up. So now with our first cut and bend in place, we can see where we need to mark. It needs to go on the inside of this. So now we know that we've got to get the outside of this edge inside of that mark. I cut that wide because it naturally makes a bevel. You can see how it works on this edge, and I'm going to do the same thing on this one. We just got to bend it and see how close we got. Think we need to cut it some more. Getting there.
2 hours later.
I ended up having to cut the blue joint a little bit more. God, that's hot.
It's because you're a dumbass.
With a little more relief, but I've got our bend in it now. Now we can see if it fits. And after a fair bit of cutting and bending, we now have a hinge that will open and let us in the truck. Pretty exciting. I'm going to weld the blue one, but I'm going to leave the red one until we get it mounted on the door, just to make sure I don't need to come back more this way. I bet I will end up having to. Whoop-de-woo. So I've got them roughly positioned as far as getting close to where the door fits. Now I've got to dial it in and get them somewhat mounted so we can figure out where they all go. So that's the hole I've already drilled, and it should work on the bottom there. But I'm gonna take the speed square and just put it on the edge of the hole and draw a line, and then I'll put it on the front of the hole. So this is the rear, this is the front, and I'll draw a line, and that'll show me the box that I need to drill in. Now I've got I marked the height of this before, and I also marked where the edge, that blue line is where it was on the edge of the door right along here. So I just need to line it up. This is the top one on the driver, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it right here and clamp this part on the door and then tack this inside so that I have the exact angle I need in there without having to do a ton of math. So step one, I'm going to break it apart. So I've got it cut just enough that I've got a little bit of twist, and I can easily push and pull it. So now I'm going to go put it in the hinge and put it in the bracket, clamp it to the door, and then tack it. You can probably see that the hinge is, I'm going to have to bolt it right here, and then one on the back side of the window gutter, and the window will go right in the middle. I believe I can get in that. Woo! So yeah, we'd already designed a hinge for the passenger side, but the problem is the metal just wasn't strong enough to carry the load, and I've decided to redo them in a heavier hinge set, and I bought these weldable gate hinges off of Amazon, and they're rated to 300 pounds each, which is way overkill, but I wanted to make sure they didn't sag or do anything like that. And what we're going to do is cut a pocket, because this material is, you know, at least a 1/4 inch thicker than this side, than the material we originally used. I'm going to move the attachment points in the width of this bracing right here on the door. And this is about 3/4 of an inch, but basically I'm just going to make a pocket around the lower and the upper hinge. I've been fighting a cold, as you can probably tell, and I apologize for it taking a little bit longer to get the video out, but we're trying to plug away and get everything done, and so we're going to get to work on these hinges. I'm going to make the pockets pretty generous on where the hinges are, and logistically it makes sense to go up and tie it into here. So we're going to cut from that line, and I think we'll go 5 inches down to there, and give us a that'll give us a 5-inch pocket, and we'll do the same up here. I'm going to go from where this bracing mounts. It mounts right here for the door channel, and I'm going to go from right at the top of it, and I'm just going to cut all the way down, and then we'll make a new pocket for the new hinges to mount in. So I need to bend this piece over, and then we'll see how much we need. I marked the length and the depth I needed, and then we're going to bend. This is the piece I want, so I'm going to bend it over right there. And then I also kind of marked roughly where that was, so I had an idea of the width I needed all the way around, so I could straighten it up. To ballpark it, we'll go see how it fits. Hopefully you can see that, but my radius isn't quite tight enough, so I'm going to tighten it up a little bit, especially on the back side. It needs to be, well, maybe that'll show it. You can see it's not quite tight enough, so I'm going to try and tighten it down. I went ahead and set this in here like this, and then rested it where it lines up and marked it on the back side. And now I can go ahead and cut this mark. I'm just a little too aggressive this way now, so I'm gonna move it out because I want it to run the inside edge right on the outside edge of that. So we're gonna flatten that out a little bit more and see what happens. That ought to do. Now piece I've cut out has some shape to it, and I'd kind of like to mimic that just to keep it looking professional, I guess. So I'm going to trace that out on the new piece and then trim it. And so I'm just going to take a piece right here and I'm going to set it in this spot right there and mark it, cut it out, and we'll do the same thing we just did on the top. Now I got the bottom tacked in. We just need to put a piece across here to give the whole thing strength. So now that we got the first pocket done, we just got to repeat the process up top. We're also going to put a brace in here from here across to here, just to A, give a little more crash protection, but B, support this bottom, because again, the bottom of the door is going to carry all of the weight. The top is just going to be a guide. And eventually you get two pockets ready to go, fully braced in, and now you just got to mount it on the door.
If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to like or subscribe or even leave us a comment below. And always, please come back and see us the next time.